What up YouTube? This is Steven and welcome back to another video. In this video I want to do a review of a book called After the Dark, and it's a part of the Dark Angel universe. Some of you, if you came onto this video, you probably are familiar with the television show Dark Angel, and it had 2 seasons, and the second season, after the second season ended, it was canceled and the storyline wasn't complete. So they released 3 novels to more or less finish the story. Well, there's one novel, the first one I think is pretty much like a prequel, but then there's the second and third novel which completes the story. In this review, there's going to be spoilers. Just because I kind of wanted to do this video for people who may not know or who may not want to read the book. Although you should read the book, I will say it was definitely a page turner. I was like, what happens next? I have to know what happens next. Keep reading it. It definitely had me on the edge of my seat. I'm just like wondering what's going to happen next. I really enjoyed it. So, to put it out there, there's going to be spoilers in this video, major spoilers for this book. So, yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so, the story picks up pretty much with Ames White. Ames White, if you don't remember, is the guy who was like Max's arch nemesis during the second season. He was kind of like, he took the place of Lydecker and Renfro. So he's like the main nemesis. But he like went up to he went into hiding in this like really super remote place in Canada somewhere. Location's not really important, but he went into hiding. He wound up going to like this place where it was mainly like indigenous folk there. The indigenous folk didn't really fool with him. But then again, I don't think he really liked the indigenous people as well. At one point, I think he referred to them as like subhuman. So I don't know. It might be like a racial thing, Ames White, considering his background with this whole, selective breeding, I wouldn't be surprised if he was a white supremacist, but they never really go into that for the most part, though. So he's in hiding, and then he winds up getting, like, his people wind up finding him because he didn't want anyone to find him because he had so many failures and was like, crap, let me just go into hiding and just hide for a while and then plan out my next move. Anywho, his cult people, his people find him and they attack him, and then it takes them a minute, but they ultimately subdue him and takes him back to like this holding area. I'm not sure where exactly. It doesn't matter. And one of his superiors says, basically, you failed us so many times, and basically they're just saying, why should we let you live? And then he's like, well, I can deliver Max. And he's like, you've said that before. What makes this any different than before? And I'm not sure exactly what convinces them. I forget. But ultimately he's given another chance. And then they cut to like the next part of the story where Max and her friends are all, enjoying life more or less, post, I think, post. You remember that thing where like the post hit and like everything went crazy? Yeah. So they're enjoying life after all that crazy stuff. And, the transgenics and ordinaries, as they call them, the regular human people, are, living somewhat in peace, no major issues for the most part. Max and Logan wind up chatting in a coffee house or whatever or somewhere. Then they are invited up to like a rooftop for a surprise, and the surprise is that they had a Christmas tree. Um, and I think it may have been especially for Max. I'm not sure. But they have a Christmas tree, and they're like, "Whoa, wow!" And she's like, "Eh," and then pretends like she's really excited. Well, she says that she's not excited, or couldn't this have waited? But then she gets into the spirit. And then there's like this comet that they said is supposed to be coming on Christmas Day or something like that. Um, but while they're on the rooftop, something happens with the tree, and the tree winds up like getting toppled over or blown over by the wind, and they're trying to catch the tree, and then Logan in that process winds up like getting knocked off of the roof, and he's hanging on, and Max is helping him or trying to help him, while others are also trying to help too. And then in the process, Max and Logan wind up coming into physical contact with each other through Max's hair getting on him. Now, as you remember in the TV show, when Max was originally captured, or recap, well, I guess captured. When she was captured by Manticore, they wind up, injecting her or doing something with her where they put a virus in her that was specifically designed to, eliminate and kill Logan when they came into contact with each other. And they don't really have a cure for it. The known cure has been used up, so they've been really careful not to touch. Well, the hair touches, they go crazy, and then Logan calls in his personal doctor, and then they wind up coming to the conclusion that ultimately there's no issue. What happened was this chameleon-like creature was imitating Logan, apparently. It's a bit of a stretch here, but follow me. This chameleon-like creature was imitating Logan as well. He took on the form. It was like this transgenic creature who was a chameleon and took on the forms of his host or whatever, or took on the form of other people. And he came into contact with Max, and he wind up simultaneously taking the virus from Max, but also being the recipient of the virus. So technically, the virus pretty much killed the chameleon because it thought it was Logan, and pretty much the virus left Max and went into the chameleon. Yeah, a bit odd, but whatever. So they're fine or whatever. And then at one point, they get to a point where they're like, okay, well, let's fool around now, right? Because they've been wanting to fool around for years, or for a while at least. But before that happens, Logan reveals a piece of information that he's been keeping from Max for a while, and it's a serious piece of information. He revealed that her brother Seth worked for him. Max was not the first transgenic that he recruited. Her brother Max was, and her brother Max actually, met his death while on a mission for Logan. And Max is extremely upset about this because she's like, how could you keep something like this from me, So she is not feeling Logan, so she leaves. Then she winds up going back to Jam Pony and talking with her old boss, Norman. Well, Normal. Then talking with Original Cindy. And, shout out to Original Cindy. Then her and Original Cindy talk, and Original Cindy winds up convincing Max that basically, at least he told you the truth. At least he didn't sleep with you and never tell you the truth. At least he didn't, keep lying to you. It was, a sin of omission, not commission, I think they said. So ultimately, um, original Sydney convinces Max to, kind of like give him a second chance, So, with that being said, she goes over to Logan's house, to try and make up or whatever. And then she comes to find like a whole like gang of people kidnapping Logan, and she's trying to fight the gang off, the Furies, and she's trying to fight them off. But there are a lot of them, so it's hard for her to fight them off. Some other transgenics wind up coming to help her. A few moments later, but ultimately they kidnap Logan, and the Furies have got Logan now, and they're like, "Hey, how do we get Logan back?" And then the Furies are like, basically they address a note to Max saying, "We want $4 million in ransom money." And I'm like, "Well, where are we gonna get $4 million at?" However, Logan comes from a very wealthy family, and he has this one uncle, I think Lyndon Kale, and Max decides maybe she should, check up on his uncle and see if his uncle could come up and give them the $4 million that they need. So Max wants to find out the location where his uncle is, which is a very remote location, and it's heavily guarded as well. And I think it's on an island. And then Alec, Alec winds up going to the Furies like location or whatever, and he winds up basically just going to the location, but not really getting much information other than like somebody referring to Logan as the troll of some sort. But when Max goes to see Logan's uncle, she pretty much takes out all the guards and stuff. And there's also some familiars who are guards too. And like if you don't remember, the familiars are like the people who are part of the cult, the breeding cult, to like pretty much breed more or less perfect humans, But ultimately she takes them out. Then she makes her way to his uncle. Come to find out, his uncle is pretty much in like a comatose state and very ill. And there's this one person who's in charge of him, and his name is Bostock, I think. And he said he's more or less a friend of Logan's, maybe. But he said it in a sarcastic way, maybe. It's like he would wonder how Logan would react if he knew that he was guarding his uncle or whatever. So basically at that point, Max and Bostock talk for a moment, and he's like, "You'll be back." And she doesn't know why he said that, but later in the story, you'll find out. So when Max comes back, they're like, "Well, let's just give him like a decoy bag with some money in it, but not really like a lot, like $4 million worth, but just pretend like it is, and we can ambush them or something like that." But come to find out, the Furies never show up to the ransom location. Wonder why. Well, they're like, "Well, that's strange. Why did that happen?" So they go to the Furies location, their headquarters, and then like come into this like, bloodbath, this, so much carnage. Like somebody took out all the Furies, for, some reason or whatever. They took out and killed all the Furies. And they're doing like, looking around the place, and Max comes across this tape recorder. She listens to the tape recorder, or plays the tape in the tape recorder, and come to find out it's Ames White's voice on the tape recorder. She recognized his voice straight away. And basically he says that he has Logan, and if Max does not return his son to him, then Logan is going to be killed. And if you guys don't remember from the second season, Max winds up like rescuing Ames' white son from like the breeding cult. It was like a school that was disguised as the breeding cult. Well, she rescues him and then puts him into hiding. And Ames White, in the process of trying to find his son, winds up killing his wife too, who also went into hiding. But he found her, but he wasn't able to find the son. Come to find out, Logan, gave the son to his aunt, which I assume is the wife's sister. They pretty much just gave him a whole new identity, both of them. So at this point, Ames wants his son back because he wants his son back for, I think, partly because, well, it's his son, but also I think to consolidate his power, quote unquote, So they're like, well, how can we get the son back? We don't know. Like, Max doesn't know where he is. Like, no one knows where he is except for Logan, and she can't speak to Logan to find out where he is. So they have to find out, trying to go through Logan's files, which he keeps on a computer, which is like has like a whole bunch of like cybersecurity, like really advanced cybersecurity. They wind up finding out. Max winds up talking with Asha, the blonde chick who was like in the first episode of the second season, who was working for Logan. And she winds up finding out some information from her, begrudgingly, because Asha didn't want to give up the information and betray Logan's trust, but ultimately Logan's life is on the line, So she gives us some information, like, she heard him mention Appleton, the town of Appleton, and we don't know which Appleton. This could be Appleton, who knows? Who knows what state. But ultimately they find out the location, They find out the information that they need. And they go to Appleton to, talk with the aunt and convince the aunt to, try to convince her. But come to find out, like, they were outside of the home and Max saw like a flash of light and she's like, wait a minute, that's like a gunshot. And then she goes rushing in and she finds these two familiars there. And these two familiars killed not only the aunt, but also Ames White's son, too. And they're fighting with the familiars. And they wind up killing one, but one got away. So after that, she's like, she recognizes, like, these guards. They were the guards she encountered when she went to go visit Logan's uncle. And she's like, these guys, I think, work for Bostock. So they go back to that place, and that place is heavily guarded, so they have to take out the guards, and then they make their way in, and then they finally confront Bostock, and he has like a gun to point it at Logan's uncle, and he's like, if you step one step closer, I'm going to shoot him. And the uncle is already in like a comatose state, so at this point he probably doesn't even know what's going on, So in the process, Bostock winds up explaining that Max is like more or less like the Messiah, and like there's this comet that's coming and it's going to wipe out quote unquote normal human civilization, mostly the normal humans. Like transgenics and familiars probably can survive it, but Max was designed with a special purpose. Like she had no quote unquote junk DNA, so she has like within her blood flows kind of like the vaccine or the cure to this like thing, like this virus that's going to come from this comet. This, I'm not sure if it's a virus or whatever. I'll just say it's a virus. But yeah. So, and you kind of saw like during the second season they were sort of hinting and trying to set the tone for Max to become more or less like the Messiah, you know. And she's like, and they're like, you don't know, do you? You don't like know, like what are you talking about? And he explains that whole situation, right? The Sandman invented her, and I think the Sandman is related to Ames White. I think the Sandman is her. Well, the Sandman is the Sandman is Ames White's father, and I think Ames White also has a half brother, CJ, and I think Max. I'm not sure. They never mentioned it, but maybe Sandman is Max's father. I'm not sure. All right. So basically, they wind up talking about that stuff, and then he's gonna eliminate Max, and then one of Max's allies come crashing through the window and stops, the guy from killing Max and her other friends. So after that, they wind up taking Bostock. Well, they saying like we're gonna kill you, blah blah blah, and he's like, you'll never find out where Logan is. I know where Logan is. Basically don't kill me because I know where Logan is. He's like, where is he? And then he winds up leading them to this area, where the Familiars are headquartered at, and they're under the disguise of an insane asylum. And by the way, when Max found the body of Ames's son Ray, she took his body, and she also took, I think, the guy who killed him, who they killed in the process. So she took like both bodies or whatever. And also during the process, Bostock admitted to having Ames's son killed. He put these guards up to killing his son. And Max is like, well, we gonna bring you with us, definitely. So anyway, all that happens, and then they get to this point now, and they're at the location, and they're taking out the guards or whatever, and then all the Familiars show up, but they weren't ready for a battle because this is like their celebration time. So the Familiars show up and they're doing battle, and then before the battle happened, Ames White contacted Max on her cell phone. He was like, you got my son. He's like, where's Logan? She's like, yeah, I got your son. Where's Logan? I want to see Logan. Yada, yada, yada. So, in the process, Logan is brought outside reluctantly. Ames White finally gets to see his son, but his son is deceased, was killed. And basically, Max is like, I didn't do it. This guy did it, And he's like, he admitted to it. He was like, yeah, I had him killed. And he was pleading with the head, the overall head person in charge. Was like, look at what I did for you guys. I brought Max to you guys. You guys, like, Ames wasn't able to do this. Look at what I was able to do. It was all a part of my plan. And Ames was pissed off, so he shot him in his head. And then I think a battle ensued again. And then, during the battle, I think Max and Ames goes at it. They both go at it for a while. And ultimately, in that battle, Ames White meets his demise as well. And he's killed by Joshua. And Joshua is like the kind of like the dog human transgenic that was like the original transgenic. And if you remember, Ames White killed Joshua's friend Annie, and I think that was like his way of getting revenge for Annie, because really he wanted to kill Ames White during the whole hostage situation at Jam Pony, but Max had said don't do it, because it would look bad on the transgenics part to kill him. um, but so that happens, and then they wind up taking the head honcho or whatever, the head cult dude inside the building, and I think they wind up encountering a head priestess with like this like dagger or whatever, but I think Max ultimately takes her out. And then at that point, they're looking at, I think, the comet crashing to Earth at this point, but the thing is, the comet, it was like a hoax. That's the thing. Like, we went through all this, and it was a hoax, and a hoax. And I was like, this seems like the day of reckoning or something. The coming, but come to find out, like many cults, the things that they believe in are ultimately hoax. And then the head familiar winds up setting the place off to detonate, So that happens, and then Max and her people kill him, and then they're like trying to rescue all the hostages in there. And I think they come across CJ in the process too, which was like the crazy dude who's like Ames' half brother. But also they come across someone who has been absent for a long time, who was completely absent second season while being a main character in the first season, who was, Max's original arch nemesis. And that person is Colonel Donald Lydecker. He survived. Barely. For some reason, I guess the Familiars captured him. I know in the second season, they showed some footage of him, like, driving and getting in, like, some type of a car battle or car, not accident necessarily, but, like, somebody was attacking his car. So I'm guessing the Familiars wind up capturing him for some reason. Not sure why. And Max is pissed off to see him. And she's like, you need to, I'm going to let you die here. And Lydecker pleads with Max, like, please don't let me die. I know where your mother is, Basically, he knows who her birth mother is, and he can find her. And Max doesn't believe him, so she walks off, and then she comes back and takes him with her. And, oh yeah, in the process, I forgot to mention, but a whole bunch of other transgenics come to help, and they're taking out all other people. So yeah, that's more or less how the story ends. There's a bit more to it. I guess after that happens, then they are driving and they get to a hotel, and then Logan and Max finally get it on. So the story kind of ends like that. But overall, I really enjoyed the book. I wound up buying the book like a while ago, though. Like a while ago, probably like years ago, but I never read the book for some reason. I have all three of the books, and overall, I really enjoyed the book. I thought it was well written, a little wordy, and probably has some, little literary merit with it. It's about 258 pages. The chapters are a little lengthy for my personal taste, but for me, that's more so an issue just because I use chapters as a checkpoint a lot of times, and sometimes it's like better to have a lot of checkpoints versus not a lot of checkpoints. But if you don't use chapters as checkpoints and you just stop and start whenever, if you're not OCD like me, then okay, this probably wouldn't be a big deal. And I guess that's not really a slight against the book. I could let that slide. Yeah, I'm not sure if I really have much to criticize the book on. I think maybe, well, some characters may not have been expounded on. Some secondary characters may have been ignored a little bit. I think Sketch was pretty much ignored this time around, or Sketchy. Um, he worked at Jam Pony with Max and Original Cindy, and I think he still does. But he was the guy in like the first and second season who was Caucasian, and he was working for like a tabloid during the second season at some point or another. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the book. It really does sort of gives me like a lot more information. You know, and it was really like a page turner too. It really had you interested to see like, okay, what happens next? What happens next? What happens next? And you know this is especially good because the way that the TV show ended. It just ended kind of like incomplete. There's one more thing that I want to mention, and I'm not sure if the book cleared this up or not, but they did mention in the book that Logan's location of where he was living was secret. Not many people knew about where Logan lived. And they hinted in the book, like they think that somebody within their group is like a double agent, you know? And that, I'm not sure if that was ever answered in this book. Like how did they find out Logan's location? I'm not sure if that was ever expounded upon. Maybe I missed it when I was reading. I'm not sure. But yeah, I was like, you know, and they like that came up, and Max was like, basically, we don't have time right now to deal with that. We have to, figure out how to rescue Logan, and then we'll deal with that. But yeah, that's interesting though. But I think I've said all I have to say for the time being, you guys. So thanks a lot for watching. Feel free to comment. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to give me a thumbs up. Your feedback and support are extremely appreciated and extremely valued. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.